Good morning, everyone. Wesley is off this week, so I'm running the show, and we're going to talk about drought, of course, and the relief of drought. So let's get right to that new Drought Monitor map. Okay, as you can see, still about the same drought picture in the state. We do have that I-44 demarcation line between basically no drought to the southeast and lots of drought to the northwest, but we did reduce that severity of the drought to the north and west of that dividing line. So now where we had extreme and exceptional drought, we just have more extreme and severe drought. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. The first big reduction in the severity and coverage of drought in several months, actually, so at least in that part of the state. Now, we did have that big reduction in the southeast, but hopefully northwest Oklahoma can get in on the act. Now we're going to pivot to soil moisture. We can see this 7-day change in soil moisture, at least at the 10-inch level. A lot of areas did show a pretty good moistening, especially across the north and west. Those were the areas that were desperately needing it. Not as many areas to the south and east could moisten because they were already pretty moist, but we do see that area across north and west Oklahoma where those rains did moisten up the soil, so great changes there. Now when we look at the USDA reports for topsoil moisture, the percent to very short. So this is the week ending April 23rd, so last week before the rains, we see in Oklahoma 79% of the state was in short to very short conditions for topsoil moisture. However, when we go to this week, we see that is reduced all the way to 43%. So a 36% decrease in that percent short to very short condition. So that again shows the improvement in the soil moisture. Not out of danger by any means, but certainly an improvement, and the first one in quite some time. Now that USDA subsoil moisture report we see again from last week, 77% of the state, the subsoil moisture was considered short to very short. And then you go to this week, it's not a great improvement, but it is an improvement nonetheless of 11%, now down to 66%. So certainly good news on the topsoil moisture and the subsoil moisture according to these reports. Now when we talk about adequate moisture, percent adequate from the USDA, that topsoil moisture, 53% of the state is considered with adequate topsoil moisture. So again, it's not the best news, but it's certainly good news compared to where we were. Now, in addition to the rains we're seeing this week and into the weekend, hopefully we get some more as we go into next week. We see the Climate Prediction Center 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook. This is for May 8th through 12th. So for next week, we do see increased odds of above normal precipitation amounts, especially across southern Oklahoma. When we look at the winter wheat areas across the United States, we still see much of the area in drought. 51% of the winter wheat production areas within those Drought Monitor boundaries. So, and a lot of that is Oklahoma and Kansas. When you get over into the Midwest, not quite so bad. But these are areas that certainly we need some improvement, at least to save the crops that are still going. Okay, that's it for this week, and we will see you next week on the Mesonet Weather Report.